Alright. Hi guys, Qui-Gon here. My top 5 RPGs. Let's get into it. Let's do this right now. Now? Number 5. Divinity Original Sin. Oh my god. What a beast of a role-playing game. So deep, so amazing, and can be quite difficult. Very, very rewarding. You can either play the regular Classic Edition or the new Enhanced Edition. I love the Enhanced Edition, especially with the addition of all the voice acting. Every single line is now voice acted. Okay, about this game. It is a comedic, isometric, turn-based RPG. The combat is much like XCOM in that each one of your characters gets a certain amount of action points, and using spells, abilities, moving, attacking, everything you do requires some of these action points. Once you've used them, your turn's up and it's the next person's turn to go. Now you might think that the combat isn't tense because of this, but you'd be wrong. You'd be dead wrong. There is so much environmental experimentation and interaction in this game. So many things that it doesn't tell you that you can do until you figure it out for yourself. You will be laughing at yourself. You will be amazed at some of the things you can do. And honestly, if you're listening to this and you want to try this game and you're wondering, can I throw this on the ground? Can I take these candles from this spot here on the wall and throw it into that gas cloud, and will they explode? Yes. Oh yes, they will explode. You can pick up anything, you can smash anything. All of your spells interact with all the types of elements that are in the ground. Gas interacts with fire, water interacts with fire, fog comes out of fire. Everything happens to fire apparently, but you get my idea. There are arguments and moral choices and real conversations and statistical outcomes to these conversations between your two characters that you have to make. The story, you are two source hunters. Source as in sorcery, and your job is to go to the city of Sisio and investigate a murder mystery, and possibly save the universe along the way. Saving the universe does take a back seat to the actual murder mystery story, and I love it. The tongue-in-cheek murder mystery, no one believes you, and there are just a whole bunch of weirdos, dum-dums, and weird idiosyncratic people along the way, really gets you moving, and you have no idea where to go next. There's no hand-holding, there's no quest markers, there's nothing telling you have to go anywhere. The companions that you meet along the way are very interesting. The perks in the creation of your character is extremely expansive, and you don't have to follow any of the classes that they give you. You can make your own. Be warned, if you've never played this game before and you make your own class, you'll probably fuck it up and try again. The first 30 or 40 hours I put into this game was me playing 10 hours over and over and over again and just trying different builds, and it didn't bother me at all. There was nothing wrong with doing that. I loved it because I just wanted to see how the game would play. The only downside of this game is that sense of humor that it seems to have. The tongue-in-cheek, heavy-handed humor can get in the way of atmosphere sometimes, especially if you want a more traditional classic fantasy story. You're not going to get that from this game. Put it aside, enjoy the humor, enjoy the combat, and enjoy the depth. This game is amazing, and that's why it's number 5 on my top 5 RPGs. Divinity Original Sin. Get into it. Number 4, The Witcher 3. A gorgeous open world role-playing game that had me hooked from the very first few seconds all the way to the end, and making me want to play it all over again the second I finished it. You can't make your class or race, instead you play Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf, and in my opinion, the best detective ever to be put into video games. Ever to be put into media. Forget Sherlock Holmes. Forget Batman. Geralt, you are the most badass detective. Amazing. It's one of the best crafted open worlds where the repeatable quote-unquote radiant quests, they don't feel repetitive at all. Let me give you an example. You walk into a small town, you see a message board, and on that message board is complaints from some of the inhabitants about their other neighbors of other races. Yeah, there's racism in the game. And then there is some story about someone who was kidnapped or was murdered, or maybe it's a monster that's plaguing this small town and you need to go see someone about it. Well, witchers are monster hunters. That's what they do. they kill monsters. So you grab that note and you follow up and find out where the monster is. And you don't just hunt it down and kill it. You need to do some detective work, possibly brew a potion, possibly look into your journal and see what kind of monster you think it is and find out what its strengths and weaknesses are if you're going to use spells. There is a lot of backwork involved in the combat of this game, and it's in no way boring or tedious. Witcher 1 and 2 are summed up fairly well in the story, and Witcher 3 is very individual from the other two, though I still suggest you play them if you get the chance. As I mentioned earlier, the journal entries in the game tell you tons of story. You don't have to read it, but oh my god, will you be better prepared if you do. Combat is beautifully balanced with the animated swordplay and magic and potions and bombs. You'll get the sense that even though this is a Polish game, it almost looks like Geralt of Rivia knows how to do kung fu. I find the swordplay very reminiscent of Chinese straight sword, and you might as well if you go and take a look at it. It's just gorgeous with whipping, whirling animations and beautiful dodge rolls. It's amazing. Preparation, as I said, is needed for a lot of the builds that are less normal, let's just say, and especially the higher difficulties. Crafting never gets boring or overwhelming. There are set bonuses on your gear that coincide with the type of build and upgrades as you go along. And there's even a mini game called Gwent, a card game. And this is coming from someone who plays no trading card games. I'm a little bit too old for that. I think my generation missed those games. But I loved Gwent, and I immediately felt like I could buy those cards in real life and play that game. Story-wise, I'm only going to give you a hint because it's so engaging right off the bat. Geralt wants to rescue his adopted daughter as well as find his missing lover. That's all I'm going to tell you, because the second you start this game, you will be hooked. The storyline never has polarizing good guy, bad guy options. Every single thing that you choose seems to have a little bit of an iffy feel to it. You're never going to be 100% sure that you're being the good guy or the bad guy, and that is really important and sorely missed in a lot of role-playing games. So, that's pretty much it for The Witcher 3. It is a friggin' amazing game, and we still have 3 more to go, but if you haven't played it, get into it, Witcher 3. Number 3, Skyrim 2016 edition, aka Modded to Hell. Well, Skyrim's been out for a long time, and if you like RPGs and you haven't at least heard of the game, where the fuck have you been? Jesus. You heard of the internets, right? God. Okay, it's a first or a third person Bethesda RPG, although it plays better in first person if you do mod it up. Third person is also really freaking awesome. There are tons of factions, lots of side quests, great abilities and perks, and the atmosphere of the world. Oh my god, the atmosphere. This game is all about the world itself. Like many Bethesda games, it's always about the atmosphere. Look, the world itself is beautiful, the creatures move fast, and they don't make things easy for you. There's, once again, no hand-holding. This is something you'll find with most of the games I love. And with the mods adding a depth to the combat you never thought possible, you can actually search out for things that you think the game is missing. The story, where to start? In fact, modded, you can start anywhere you want. Typically, if you want to go vanilla, you're a criminal on the chopping block. And that's all you know at the very beginning of the game. They thrust you right into the world, and shit starts happening real quick. Some of the factions are just so amazing. Werewolves, vampires. Maybe you can even become one of them. And the dragons. Oh my god, the dragons. One of the lovely things about the mods is that dragons are done right. They're very scary. They're randomly attacking you. Each one is individually different from the next, and you can take 45 minutes fighting a dragon while trying to save a town that it's attacking, as long as you download the right mods. Now that brings me to one of the downsides of playing modded Skyrim. Modding can be a bit overwhelming, and the mods can vary in scope, which requires micromanagement. You may need to pick up a mod just because it makes your character's eyes and eyelashes pop. Or you may get a mod that totally overhauls combat and adds dodge rolls and dual wielding and different animations that only your character can experience and that you would never see without that mod. I would suggest going to Nexus Mod Manager's website. You can Google it, or even checking out a fellow YouTuber named Gopher. He'll give you a lot of tutorials that are very clean and easily spoken through and just very easy to follow, so you can start modding your Skyrim right away. That's about it, guys. I don't want to ruin this game for you. If you haven't run through this world screaming Fus Ro Da before or taken an arrow to the knee, then it's about time. Download Skyrim, download the DLCs, get to modding, and get into it. Skyrim. Number 2, Pillars of Eternity. Obsidian, the guys who put role-playing games on the map for me, created this isometric, nostalgic, but very visually and up-to-date game, with hand-drawn art painting style environments that are amazing, and the character models are not at all dated. The races and sub-races will sometimes feel familiar, but also some of them are completely atypical and non-familiar. What's an Amawa? Or an Orlin? And oh my god, that godling's face is on fire. You'll have to take a look for yourself. The same for the classes. There are some pillars, some standard classes, but there are also chanters, ciphers, and shape-shifting druids. Stats are done pretty similar too. They'll feel familiar, but they're also done in differently enough ways that you will want to continuously experiment with the game's creator. For an example, AoEs have friendly fire, but intelligence increases the size of your AoE, and just that increased amount is not something that can hurt your group. So that's something to keep in mind. And you have 2 types of health pools in the game too, endurance and health. I won't spoil how it works for you, but it's very interesting, very smooth, and all interconnected in a great way. Your characters have history. They have a geographic origin. You'll pick a cultural background, a job, beliefs, and in some cases even a religion. It took me hours upon hours and remakes to finally settle down with a character that I finished the game with for the first time. And redoing that stuff and redoing the beginning of the game didn't bother me at all. Each one was an adventure that felt different than the last. This affects how you talk, your dialogue options, and sometimes even your combat outcomes when you're choosing all these options for your history. And it especially has an outcome on the end story. It's not the only way you affect the end story. A lot of what you do with your companions will affect it too. And I don't want to spoil it for you at all, but there are so many ways for this game to end. And when it does, it stops and tells you the story. It continues where you left off, and you'll feel like everything that happens to everyone around you was because of you, and you'll want to go back and do it again and see how different it was. Now, it's not fully voice acted, which is something to keep in mind for those that don't like to read, or for people like me that are Let's Players and that sometimes stumble with their words when they're recording, but that's not that big of a deal. Come on, you can read. Just do it. So what if your lips move when you're reading in your head? No one's watching. Just play it. Combat is live, but also pause and play. It's very tactical and frenetic all at once. And you'll find that you're pausing a lot because this game can get out of hand really fast. Don't forget to save. The story, you really create your own story here, as I've hinted above, all the way to the end. With the promise of a new life, you fall sick while traveling with the caravan and have to stop near these glowing green rock ruins. That's all I'm going to tell you, because that's all you need to know. There is an expansion out for the game already, The White Marches. Part 1, Part 2 is coming, and it adds, I want to say, a good 12 hours to the story, but it's not necessary to be purchased, although I would say do it if you can, because it also updates a lot of combat and class stuff as well. It doesn't just give you a little bit of extra story to play. There are keeps and companions in this game. Now, what I mean by keeps is you actually get your own stronghold and you can upgrade it, and you can become very involved with having your stronghold do things for you that you don't want to do yourself. It's completely skippable, and it's up to you if you want to do it, but I suggest trying it out. If you play this game on the hardest difficulty, your companions can die permanently. You may have to hire replacements. Don't worry, you can create your replacements from scratch. There is definitely no hand-holding. There is a lot of micromanagement in this game, with friendly fire and advancing the story giving you tons of experience. I would definitely suggest sitting down and taking some time to really delve into this game. There's also a tip I can give you, and that's when you read souls. This is something that the Kickstarters added to the game. You don't need to read these souls if you don't want to. They do not break the immersion, but they're not necessarily part of the story. And I would say one criticism is that romance is lacking in this game. There's really no romancing in this game, which I found somewhat interesting that it would be skipped. That's pretty much it, guys. Take a look at Pillars of Eternity. Download, purchase it, get into it. Number 1, Baldur's Gate 2, the Enhanced Edition. Here we are, guys. We made it to the number 1 role-playing game of all time. Okay, it's my list, and it's arbitrary, but shut up, you're already here. Just listen. Look, it's based off of the Dungeons & Dragons system. It's a little bit dated because it's on their 2nd edition. I think they're on 6th right now. And it has some weird rules like THAC0, 2 hit armor class 0. Wait, so positive is bad and negative is good? I'm so confused. Okay, it doesn't matter. The character customization in this game is phenomenal. You have 11 plus classes, anywhere between 3 and 5 subclasses per character, and even multi-classing, which means that you can take up to 3 classes and just mush them together in your character and make something totally strange and new, which is kind of awesome. You also have to choose an alignment, which makes a huge effect on the storytelling and your companions. This is a game where if you decide to be evil, you can be evil, but you can't hang out with the good folks. They're not going to follow you. Companions are done right in this game. My first time dealing with an open world game was in Baldur's Gate 2, and I was floored. You have so much freedom in roaming and really compelling side quests. The story starts off slightly generic and you just wake up having amnesia and you're captured and you don't know what's going on, but it doesn't stay generic for long, thanks to amazing writing. Favorite part of my game is definitely hearing from the companions. Their alignments matching or mixing or not connecting with yours is really important, and their voice acting is freaking awesome. The combat in this game is very tactical and frenetic, as it is live action combat with pause and play, exactly like Pillars of Eternity. There were multiple expansions, tons and tons of gear and side quests, and the side quests, they feel just as engrossing as the main story, and there were times where I didn't even realize I was on a side quest and thought I was still on the main story. That's how good it is. You have the real ability to be an evil bastard if you want to. I know I said that before, but a lot of games just don't do this. Sure, you can do some evil things, but why are the good people still following you? Why is the world not affected by what you're doing? Well, not in Baldur's Gate 2. This world is massive. There is a lot of things to discover on your own. Little things that make a huge difference, and the game won't tell you about them. You gotta find it out for yourself. Here's an example. There are weapons with infinite ammo. Yes, you gotta collect ammo in this game, but there are a few with infinite ammo. You'll collect them, you'll use them, you'll think they're amazing, but then all of a sudden you'll find something more powerful and you'll toss it. Or will you? Or maybe, if you're really smart, you'll take an upgraded type of ammo and try to combine it with that infinite ammo item just to see if you can upgrade it. Oh my god, you can! I didn't know this, guys. I didn't find this out until, 10 years afterwards? And there's a lot of little things like that that you won't find out until your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th playthrough. Don't Google it. Figure it out for yourself, you freaking cheater. Now, there is a downside to this game, nostalgia. Nostalgia might be painting my review just a little bit. Honestly, I grew up with it and I understand it's got very, very dated character models that I can see past, but if you're looking for that new fancy fandangled, absolutely sexiest looking RPG ever, then this isn't for you. Most RPGers that I know, most role-playing gamers, well, they're okay with subpar graphics if the game is good, and this is that game. This game is fucking phenomenal. Also, if you've never delved into the D&D universe, you might not have the attachment that I do to it. What I suggest is check out a Let's Play of Baldur's Gate 2 before you go ahead and buy it. Although it's super cheap on Steam, and I think you should buy it. It should be your main purchase on this list. If you don't have all 5 of these games and you can only afford one, you should absolutely buy Baldur's Gate 2. But if you're not sure, go to Kart Gaming. Fantastic channel, lots of Let's Plays, very, very informative, and he's really knowledgeable with the game. So I would go there, take a look, watch the first few episodes. Don't worry, even if you watch 5 or 6 hours, I think he's probably up into 200 episodes. So it is a freaking massive game, and you're not going to spoil anything by watching the first few hours to see if you like the game. And that is my list, guys. Baldur's Gate 2 tops them all. Get into it, love it. Stick around. I want to throw out a few shout-outs. These are games that almost made the list, that I absolutely love, that I still think deserve. If it was a top 10, maybe they'd be on there. These games are Mass Effect 2, Fallout 4, Shadowrun, I think probably the newer ones, South Park: The Stick of Truth, Dragon Age Inquisition. These are also fantastic games, and if I was to make a larger list, they would definitely be on it. Also, I want to ask you guys if you can comment in the section below. I'd like to know what's next. I'm in Fallout 4 right now, and I am plugging through it, but I have time to play another game as well, and I kind of want to know what I'm going to pick up. Should it be one of my unfinished RPGs, such as Wasteland 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, Banner Saga, Bastion, or should it be an action game like Mark of the Ninja or XCOM Enemy Unknown? There's a lot going on. If there's something out there that I haven't seen or that you really want to see someone play through, well, hit me up, let me know. And that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for paying attention to my first top 5. There will be many more to come. Have yourself a great day, and thanks kindly. Bye-bye.